Hi everyone, I'm Danny. This is flosstube number 145, and this time it will be a little bit of a longer one. First, I wanted to talk about last week a little bit, then I show you everything I did, and in the end I'm going to talk about plans for 2023, because it's coming closer and closer, 1.5 months to go, and I more or less have figured everything out, and I wanted to tell you, so if you like, you can join. Or just you know what's going to happen. So let's get started. Last week I told you it was a super busy week. I would not get a lot of stitching done, and yeah, it was a super busy week, but I also did get a lot of stitching done. So I'm very, very happy with last week. The work trip was great actually. I had a good time. I learned a lot, and yeah, so that was really nice. And when I came back, I did a lot of stitching, and I also did a lot of sewing. You all know my sewing project. The deadline is coming closer and closer. It's tomorrow. So I really needed to get that done, and I was really afraid that all my stitching would go on the back burner and I would just concentrate on sewing and not get any stitching done this week or last week. I did a lot of sewing. Basically, the sewing project, all the sewing is done. I just have to decorate and wrap it up, and then that's done. I'm going, after this video is done, I'm going to do another short clip to film what I did as my sewing project, so I can show that in the future. Basically, it's an event calendar exchange, and on the 16th of December, the other 24 women with whom I do this advent calendar exchange, they will get my presents. During December, I plan to do Flossmas videos, so a daily video. So in my Flossmas video of the 17th, I then will insert a clip of what my sewing projects look like. So that's going to happen then. But I'm going to film it today because tomorrow I have to give it to my colleague who organized everything, and therefore I don't have it anymore on the 17th. So that's going to happen afterwards. I do hope with decorating, wrapping it up and stuff like that, that I will be done with that someday this evening, hopefully early evening, and I still have some time left to do other things. That would be the goal. We'll see about that. But I still got quite a lot of stitching done, and I'm very happy with all the stitching I did. So let me show you what I stitched on last week. First of all, I did stitch on Coloring Mountains by Golden Kite. This is a full coverage piece I want to finish this year, and I'm getting closer and closer to actually doing so. So let me show a picture of what it looked like last time here. And this is where I got to. So once again, 2 more columns down here. There are 4 columns left. It's not yet a page finished. There's 1 row of stitches on over here that I still have to do to finish that page. So that's going to happen this week. This is stitched on a 25 count even weave. I'm stitching 2 over 110 stitch needleminders from Denker Designs, and I bring those 2 columns a little bit closer. So nothing too exciting in here, just a lot of greens. Yeah, I'm sorry, the light is not perfect. It is now winter, or at least autumn, and the light is always worse during those seasons. But as I said last time, my ring light broke, so I don't have a new one yet, and therefore the light is not great, and I'm sorry about that. But yeah, I did those 2 more columns. Now there are 4 columns left, and once again, I'm not going to stick with my plans. I kind of want to finish this next week. I think I'm going to go with cross country for the rest of the design, only 4 colors. I did cross country for 2 columns over the last 2 weeks, so now just 4 columns. I'm kind of hoping to finish this week. It's not going to be the first project I stitch on, but yeah, maybe it will. I talk about it a little bit at the end of the video, but the goal would be this week to finish this project. That would be really amazing. and I really want to have it done. And so far, a lot of the times 2 columns in a day are a lot of stitching, but it's possible. So I do have the weekend off, and I'm kind of hoping to spend the whole weekend just stitching on this and finishing off the design. We'll see. I do hope that's going to happen. Otherwise, I'm going to show you next week a project that's nearly done. As I do now with my next project, because the next project I stitched on for travel stitching and a little bit at home is Raven Queen by Mirabilia. This is going to be the finished piece, and I'll show you a picture of what it looked like last time here. And this is where I got to. So she's more or less done. All the cross stitching is done. I'm just missing beads. So there are those bigger blue beads in all those light blue areas around here. And then those black beads on the edge of the design everywhere where the big blue beads aren't are going to go completely around here. And then I will be done. I just did not have the time to do the beads at home anymore. I was really hoping yesterday evening to maybe get the time and be able to finish her. That did not happen. I would have loved to show you a finish today. But yeah, she's going, if I have a lot of time left in the evening after I finished my sewing project completely, I'm going to bead her and finish her today. If I only have half an hour to an hour left, I'm going to start on Colorway Mountains just to finish off the time, and then tomorrow I will stitch on her. We'll see. I'm going to decide depending on how much time I have left this evening to stitch. But plan for this week is to finish Raven Queen and to finish Colorway Mountains, and then I move on to other projects. Those 2 will be first. So next week I hopefully can show you 2 more finishes, or 2 finishes. That would be pretty amazing. As you might know if you watched a few of my older videos, the last few videos, I only have 4 projects left where I have not yet finished my year and go on. Raven Queen and Colorado Mountains are 2 of those, so they are very close to being done, which would then mean I can move on to the last 2. And I actually stitched on one of them last week as well, and I made great progress. So yeah, last week was just really, really nice for stitching. The project I also made progress on was Cinderella Rags to Riches by John Elliott. Basically, if you buy this pattern, you get 2 charts, Cinderella in Rags, Cinderella in Riches. You can stitch them separately or combined. I'm doing the combined version. Last year I finished Cinderella in Rags, and now I'm stitching on Cinderella in Riches. So let me show you a picture of what it looked like last time here. And this is where I got to. So yeah, as I said, I did a lot on her. First, Cinderella in Rags. She's very beautiful and completely done already. And then I stitched on Cinderella in Riches. Put it like this so you can show it a little bit better. Yeah, so I finished the upper part of her dress. I did stitch a lot on both of her sleeves and on the bottom part of her dress. This is like something of a belt area, and I finished that as well. So now I have, I knew it. Oh yeah, I have 9 colors left. 3 of those colors are just her hand. That's the only skin that's left, that bit over here. So 3 colors for that, and otherwise 3 colors for the rest of the dress. Basically, there are 2 dress areas. It's the darker blues over here, and then the lighter blues like they are in the upper part of her dress. So when I finished those, I had some thread left on my needle, and I started in on the bottom part of the dress to finish off those threads. So darker part, lighter part down here. Basically, with this one, I go through the project, top to bottom, left to right, pick the first color that's missing, stitch 1 length of thread, with that color, and then I move on to the next one. So that's why I did a lot in this area over here. Yeah, this one was a leftover color from in her sleeve, and I did not end and restart the thread. I just carried over here and did that. Yeah, in here there are stitches missing. In here, over here, over here. Those are all going to be beads. She has a lot of bling in her. There's some krennic missing in here. On the end of her belt kind of thing is one row of krennic as well. Over here there is some krennic missing as well as beads. In the dress itself, I don't know if you can see it, there are a few stitches missing. Those are going to be beads as well. There will be backstitched krennic like those stars around here, around the rest of her as well. And also there will be backstitched krennic in the dress itself. I have not yet backstitched the dress or the sleeves. That's missing as well, which is the 10th color. There are 10 colors left because one is for backstitch only. So yeah, there's still quite a lot to do in this upper area as well to completely finish her from top to bottom. But as I said, I stitched on her during night shifts, so I just took my cotton threads. I did not take any beads or backstitch or krennic or anything with me, just cotton threads. And with those, I'm very happy with what I did. I am going to take her with me as treble stitching, which is not super easy, to be honest, because she is so big. So I might stitch on her at work, but I'm actually not sure of that yet. With Raven Queen, if I had 20 minutes, I brought her out and started stitching on her. With Cinderella, I'm not so sure actually. She's a little bit more involved and just not as easy to handle. So I can't start stitching out as fast. So I might need a little bit of a longer time before I stitch on her at work. But I still hope to get some progress done on her for treble stitching. As I said, not sure about that. Yeah, so that's my Cinderella. And that means there's only one project left, and I have not stitched on that last week because I kind of needed a timeout from it. I was burning out on it, and before I really burned out on it, I decided to take a break, which I think was good because now I feel like I'm okay coming back to it, but I don't want to overdo it. So, plans for next week. I'm going to stitch on Colorado Mountains and Raven Queen until both are done. If that takes until the end of the week, I'm not stitching on anything else except for Cinderella Rex Riches if I have the time while at work or something like that, out of the house. Then I'm going to stitch on Cinderella as well. If I finish both projects super early in the week and I have some time left, I have a plan in place. The plan is for Norwegian Ship Under Sail to come out again. This is from Golden Kite. It is the small edition. There is a bigger one. I have the small one because that one had enough detail for me. I don't want to burn out on it again. I think I have about 1,600 stitches left to do this year. So if I do 100 stitches every day, that's about 16 days. And that is kind of the plan. I'm going to set my goal at 100 stitches every day. If I start stitching and I feel like I'm super into the project and can do a lot more than just 100, I'm going to do more than 100. If I sit down to stitch and I really dread starting to stitch because it is this project, I'm not stitching that day. I'm just kind of going with the flow, but trying to stitch on it every day. Very vague plan, but that's the plan. And whenever I'm done with this project for the day, I bring out Cinderella Rex Riches in the hopes of making a lot more progress on that one. Because I will end up with Cinderella Rex Riches as my last project and then having to do a lot on that still. So yeah, the more progress I can get before it's the last one on my plate, the better. So let me show you Norwegian Ship Under Sail, where this one is at right now. 6 pages are done, 3, 2, 1. And I'm now stitching on page number 4 in that first row. And yeah, so I have started a new column. This is the column where the next sales come in. So I did those, and now that one's coming in. Which means it's a lot of confetti, and therefore I'm not super excited about stitching on that one because it takes a lot of time. But I'm also really excited about stitching on it because it turns out amazing, as you can see. So yeah, stitching over here, as I said, 1,600 columns. I think that one done and 2 more columns, something like that is the plan. I never told you stitch counts, did I? This is stitched on an 18 count antique white Ada. I'm stitching 2/1 4 crosses needleminders from Denkai Designs. Yeah, I'm just going to go over it real quick. Raven Queen, 32 count Belfast linen in some kind of gray. Did not keep track back when I bought it, so just some kind of gray. 2/2 4 crosses. Cinderella Rags Riches is stitched on a 28 count casual linen in the colorway Fog by Pictures Plus. 2/2 4 crosses. Sorry. So yeah, that is Norwegian Ship in the Sale. Not sure if I will make any progress on that one this week, but I do hope for it because that would mean I finish my other 2 projects really early in the week. So yeah, that's that. And that's all my projects that are left for this year. Because it looks like I might finish my goals early, let me talk about what happens if I do. The plan is to then, whenever I have finished all my goals, take one day to stitch on all of my projects one more time. So if I finish all my goals, I will have 10 projects left. I will stitch on them in the order I finished the goals on. So the first one would be Once Upon a Fairy Tale because I finished my year-end goal on that one in March. So I would stitch one day on Once Upon a Fairy Tale and then I move on to the next one and so on until I have stitched 10 days on 10 different projects. After that, I'm going to stitch on one project only anymore, and that will be Mini Cinderella. Sorry. That will be Mini Cinderella because I'm kind of hoping to finish that one really soon. Not going to happen this year because I think I have about 17,000 stitches left, something like that. But to end the year with only 10 to 15,000 left on that one would be amazing. So after I stitched on all of my projects for at least one day, I'm concentrating on Mini Cinderella to get as much done as I can. And that's the rest of my year. Not super exciting, but I'm really looking forward to visiting all my projects one more time. So yeah, I like that. Okay, next year. I do have my plans in place, more or less. Basically, what I did since 2020 is give myself a headline for each year. Next year, I haven't really figured out yet. In 2020, I had Year of Full Coverage. Then I had Year of Fancy Ladies in 2021. And now, 2022, we have Year of the Oldies. For 2023, I'm still torn between Year of Equality or Year of New Starts, because both is going to happen. Basically, my plan for next week is to stitch on all of my projects the same amount of stitches. I will have a rotation in place and no goals. I will set myself no goals for next year. That's something I never did before. So we're trying it out. I might throw it all out after a few months and decide on goals. Who knows? But so far, the plan is to have no goals for 2023 and instead have a rotation in place. I'm going to have 2 bowls. In bowl number 1, there will be a lot of pieces of paper. On each of those pieces of paper, there is one project. At the beginning of a new rotation, I'm going to pick one piece of paper out of the bowl, stitch on that project for 1,000 stitches, I'm going to finish my thread, so maybe it's a bit more than 1,000, but 1,000 stitches, and then the piece of paper goes in bowl number 2. Those 1,000 stitches, depending on the project, might take me 1 day, might take me 1 week. Doesn't matter. When those 1,000 stitches are done, I'm going to pull the next piece of paper and stitch 1,000 stitches on the next project. Every project will get 1,000 stitches. When all of the pieces of paper are in bowl number 2, I start again in bowl number 2, pick the pieces of paper out, and do 1,000 stitches on all of my projects. So it's fairly simple so far. I will also do 12 new starts. A few of those have no specific date during the month, so I'm planning 1 start a month. A few of those have specific dates I want to start them on, so I'm starting them on those dates. I do 1,000 stitches and then I go back to my rotation. Other projects I have no specific date in mind, so probably whenever I am done with a rotation, I'm going to start a new project, do 1,000 stitches, put a piece of paper in the next bowl, and then I start the rotation new. So I'm not yet sure of all of the things I want to start, but I have an idea of what I want to start. So I know I want to start a Mirabilia, but I don't know which one yet. So stuff like that. And then there are a few exemptions to my rotation. 4 to be exact. I have travel stitching, I have birthday stitching, I have whip go, and what was the last one? Focus on a finish. That was it. So travel stitching, pretty easy. I'm going to have 1 project that I use as travel stitching, and that one, well, will be in my rotation as well. So whenever it gets called, it gets 1,000 stitches at home. Whenever it's not called, it's with me while I'm out of the house and get some stitching done, and I will not count any stitches while out. Just while being at home during its rotation, I'm doing 1,000 stitches. That's that. Birthday stitches. All of my projects do have a birthday. I know the exact dates when I started all of them. So on those dates, I'm going to stitch on those projects. I'm going to pause my rotation for that day, stitch on the project that has its birthday. So for example, I think the chimney sweep is the 13th of May. So I'm going to pause any rotation I have at that point, stitch on the 13th of May on the chimney sweep, not counting any stitches. And on the 14th of May, I'm restarting my rotation where I left it. So if, for example, my rotation chose the chimney sweep on the, let's say the 12th of May. I'm starting stitching on the chimney sweep, get 500 stitches on the 12th of May. On the 13th of May, it's the birthday for the chimney sweep, not counting any stitches, just stitching. And on the 14th of May, I restart my rotation with the chimney sweep at 500 stitches, because that's what I managed to do before I paused for birthday stitching. So that's basically birthday stitching. Then I have focus on a finish. Focus on a finish means every Sunday I stitch on 1 project I really want to finish, pausing my rotation for that and just stitching on that 1 project. At the beginning it will be Mini Cinderella, because as I said, I really want to finish that soonish. I'm going to stitch on it at the end of this year, and it will be the first focus on a finish next year. Every Sunday that one will get attention. I have no clue yet which will be the next focus on a finish piece. It might be focus on a page finish if I feel like doing that. Stuff like that. So not necessarily finish a whole project, because so far with my plans I only have full coverage projects left next year. I'm going to start a new non-full coverage pieces next year, but not sure about that and which ones those will be. If it's a mill hill, I don't need a focus on a finish Sunday. Yeah, not going to happen. But a lot of my full coverage pieces are really big and I will never get them done next year. So focus on a finish could just mean get me to 50% or get me to 30%, something like that. It does not necessarily mean focus on a complete finish, but focus on finishing a little goal that I set myself throughout the year, maybe. Maybe, not sure about that yet. And then there's WIPGO. I really enjoy WIPGO, so I want to do it again next year. But I can't do it the way I always did it over the last few years, because the last few years I always decided on a year-end goal and put my year-end goals on the WIPGO board. Not going to happen this year. As I said, I don't have any goals. So instead, I decided to go with different things. One is, or a few squares actually, are a friend's choice. So I might ask a friend of mine which project they enjoy the most. I might ask you which project you enjoy the most, and you vote for it, and I stitch on that project, whichever wins, for I think 1,000 stitches I put there. Other squares are 500 stitches in green or 500 stitches in blue, stuff like that. So I can choose myself. For some, I might even choose more projects than one because I don't have a lot of blue projects. So I'm going to rotate through that kind of. Others are 1,000 stitches on my oldest project or 1,000 stitches on a fancy lady. So I always have the possibility to choose between different projects, especially with fancy lady. I put my full coverage fancy ladies in there as well. So yeah, I always have the possibility to see what I want to do, where I want to get more progress done maybe, and then choose that project. The rotation, of course, will also be paused whenever I stitch on one of my WIPGO projects and goals. So if it's 500 stitches on black, which I have as well, I might take a project out where I have a lot of black and just stitch 500 stitches and get it done in one day, or maybe even half a day, and then I switch back to my rotation and continue my rotation. I try to complete each square in the month it gets called. I'm not going to work ahead, but I might have to catch up, especially if I ask you to vote and I give you 2 weeks, and yeah, it might just take a while. So therefore, yeah, that's it. I think that's basically the rotation for next year. I hope you understood. If you have any questions, feel free to answer me. I know it was a lot and maybe even a little bit unexpected because normally I don't share my plans ahead of time. But it really felt like I wanted to and let you know what I did and maybe have or give others the possibility to get inspired. And I really mean get inspired and not follow everything I do to T. That's not what I wanted to do with that. But to just throw my ideas of what I want to do out there, because there are a lot of ideas floating around already for 2023. And I enjoy seeing those, and I steal a few things for myself. So yeah, therefore I wanted to put mine out as well. Okay, that's it. That's my video. I hope you enjoyed. I will probably be back the next Monday. I think so. So I will see you then. And yeah, hope you have a wonderful time. Bye.